did I hear you're shopping for a car? Because I've been at it for ages. Ugh, such a time suck, right?
Not really. I bought it on Carvana. Super convenient.
Oh, then comes all the financing, research, am I right?
Well, you can, but I got pre-qualified for a Carvana auto loan in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, but then all the number crunching and terms, right?
Nope. I saw real numbers as I shopped, found my dream car, and got it in a couple of days.
Wait, like you already have it?
Yep.
Oh.
Go to Carvana.com to finance your car the convenient way.
Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen.
Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. How's it going? Another podcast this week. I mean, it must be Christmas time. It must be a special gift. Just kidding. Two this week because in this episode, I speak with production designer Trevor Smith, who is on Fargo. And I was able to watch a couple episodes in advance, and then we talked about it, so I had to wait till I aired this, and since it's on Tuesdays, why not give a special episode on a Tuesday? Really interesting to talk to him about this season of Fargo and all that they did to kind of throwback to the film. And I mean, even watching it before I spoke to him, I could kind of see little references and everything, which I loved. I really like the series. I like that every season is different and a different take on a quirky take, I would say, on these stories. I just really like the series, and the acting is always really well done. John Hamm. I mean, there's an ass shot of John Hamm. So what else do you want? Get watching it. It's really good. It's on FX. Speaking of watching, what else is One-Up watching? Well, since, I had my episode yesterday, told you a bit of what I'm watching. I did watch that movie, is it Dumb Money? God, now I'm forgetting. Dumb Money, yes. I thought it was really good. It's about the GameStop stock scandal, I should say. List of Stars, directed by Craig Gillespie, and production designed by Scott Kuzo, and then the LA unit was decorated by Ray Dilish and set decorator Paige Mitchell. So really well done layering in like every bit of people. They have a lot of different people in the story, like a nurse in one city and college students and a guy who works in GameStop. So there are different economic levels that they had to decorate throughout the movie. I thought were done really well. And I'm watching The Crown. I think I'm like 3 episodes in. I just don't want Diana to die. Spoiler. I don't know. I'm trying to not get to that episode where she's gonna do it. But production I looked up, and the whole series has been production designed by Martin Childs. So I think he's been on this for about 10 years almost, or 8 years, I think I saw. Just a phenomenal project. And then it's a huge list of decorators on there, which I'm sure different countries and different seasons, and every single episode is top notch and spectacular design wise. So I always watch it for that, but I watch it for I think the acting is always stellar, and there really aren't any bad links. There aren't any bad kinks in that chain of The Crown. So I'm watching that also. I'm also listening to that book, Hollywood, The Oral History by Janine Basinger and Sam Wasson. And I think it was something like 28 hours long. Well, I only have 6 hours left. So far, it's been really great. It's basically a bunch of AFI interviews that they put together to make up a story of the beginning of Hollywood, and they go through the very beginnings of silent films turned over to talkies. They go through almost every position in production. A little disappointing, a lot disappointed that production design only was about a 10-minute saga, and I'm listening to 28 hours of this. But here and there, they have other interviews with production designers. I'm at the point where they're at a new Hollywood, which is the 60s. I don't know if it goes much further than that, although I have 6 hours left, so maybe it comes to modern day. But there's and I should say a lot of the jobs that they're describing them in the 40s and 50s. So I feel like some of the descriptions definitely should be updated because it's not correct in our terms these days. But still, a fascinating read of the history of Hollywood. So I would definitely recommend that to anyone. What else? I mean, I'm really, editing and putting up the YouTube videos for, we had the For All Mankind, The Buyers yesterday, Ashley Rice, Katie Shirey, and Howard Warman. Take a look at that. And the production design film study, next week I am putting out 1980 with production designer, art director Raph Leiden. Whew, 1980. So Tess won up against The Elephant Man, Empire Strikes Back. It's kind of kind of an incredible year. I mean, the gamut of a wide range, very wide range of design in that year, and Tess wins, and it's kind of surprising. Well, it's surprising to me after watching those those movies. So yeah, so check out those on YouTube or on the podcast, and maybe you'll learn a little something from behind the scenes of people who love movies and want to talk about movies. But today, this podcast is featuring production designer Trevor Smith of the show Fargo season 5. And we talk a lot about how there are some throwbacks to the film, but also he had to build a whole house and find the correct street, which he says he was influenced from the film Halloween. The house build was a kind of a reference of kind of a little Home Alone-ish. You can see from the episodes that aired already, they have a huge fire in the house. It's huge for the design and the logistics of all this and getting it done. And also, there's so many other interesting characters and a range of design from super modern to, down and dirty. So this season has really, design-wise, been fantastic. So I was so happy to get to talk to him. So I hope you enjoy.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Yourself?
I'm good. You have a very picturesque window back there. Where are you?
I live outside of Calgary in a place called Bragg Creek.
Wow, look at that view.
Yeah, so we're right up against the provincial park. So I've got the Elbow River behind us and the mountains are that way.
Wow, that's a nice getaway from from all of the craziness, I bet.
Indeed. And what a great day. I mean, of all days to put this strike behind us today. So
I know. Sun is shining in LA. It's like it's nice day, no foggy morning. Like, I don't know. It's nice.
yeah.
It's such a relief, man. It's such
Oh my
a
gosh.
relief.
I can't even. I mean, for myself, it's just the way the season timed out.
Yeah.
Fargo was my last show, and I'd always sort of by design intended to take a little bit of time off.
Yeah, me too.
But I haven't worked since April 6th, so
I hadn't worked since February.
ugh, God,
I was like, oh, they're not going to go on strike, and I need let me take a month or so off and whatever. And then it was like nothing. And then I did like a little commercial, and then I was like, ah. And then a show came up like 2 weeks before the writers were going to strike, and I was like, I'm taking it. Whatever it is, I'm taking it. So really, it's just been nothing. But I'm very lucky. As soon as the writers were done, my show came back up. So I have been working like the last 3 weeks. So
Oh, that's great to hear.
yeah.
Excellent.
And I think slowly little like half-hour shows and such have been starting up their art departments. Because I mean, eventually it would have ended.
Indeed.
Eventually somebody would have said, okay, I don't know. You have to. It's negotiating. It's not just demands. So,
Indeed. Yeah.
I
Bit of a contest.
I must say I am jealous of anyone who has worked on any season of Fargo, because I think it's just such a terrific, like the intertwining of the stories and how it's written and the character development in such a short time, and the sets, of course, and the costumes and such. But I think it's just such a well-rounded show that I'm just jealous. Get to do it.
Well, I consider myself fortunate, to be able to sort of hitch my wagon to the show. And it goes without saying that Noah Hawley is, genius level kind of a storyteller.
Yeah.
And I can't think of, and as you know, we read so many scripts in our craft. I can't think of scripts, whether it was season 1 that I worked on or 5, that were so easy to digest, like literal page turners.
Right.
And a lot of people say that, but there's nothing truer. Like Noah can make a 2-hander for 5 pages be the most delicious thing you've read, prose or fiction in films. So
he was on Bones when I was there like 15 years ago. So I have met him, but I never talked to him. But when the first season came on, I was like, that guy's doing that. That's cool. And then watching it, being like, oh, look at that guy. like, he's got show running. He's directing every episode. He's writing every episode. Like season 1, I think he wrote every episode or something. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah. It's all a blur, but yeah, I think he did write the season.
So you were the art director on season 1, correct?
That's right. I came a little bit late to the show. There was a shakeup, I think 2 episodes in. And I was sort of 2.0 on season 1. And I think on paper I did the final 8 episodes.
Oh, that's great. I can't even say which is my favorite season. I mean, I only did 6
I know.
but I think season 1 really sticks out to me.
Yeah. I think 1 has a charm to it just because it's the first, and there's kind of, again, echoes from the movie.
Yeah.
It has that going for it that I don't think you'll ever sort of replicate. But I have a soft spot for each of them for different reasons. I know all the designers and worked with them actually that did 2 through 4, and I get something different out of each of them. I mean, season 2, I cannot get over the costumes and hair.
Yeah, and the wigs and like all of that was fantastic.
And it's playfulness, it's split screen, it's 70s vibe. Like it really has a lot of fun. Season 2. Season 3, I liked it's almost somber cold.
Yeah, I think I really love season 3.
Yeah, and Ewan McGregor was an absolute hoot. And then 4, with Warren coming back, the period again goes without saying, but again the costumes for me, like drool level wardrobe.
Yeah,
and its sense of period and play with color was the most playful season, I think, of Fargo in terms of stepping out of the aesthetic that we sort of imagine when we think of the Enterprise.
Yeah. I was wondering, are there things that by season 5 you still draw from the film?
Definitely.
In
I think
design,
more than ever,
in design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Without a heap of plot spoiling, the 5th installment is almost a throwback or revisit of the movie.
Yeah.
It explores a lot of plot devices and themes and milieu that inevitably forced us to look back, both to season 1 of the series and the movie itself from the Coen brothers. So yes, tons of direct reference, truthfully.
I was wondering too. To me, it replicated in the house, in their house. The staircase is like in the middle of the floor plan of the first floor, and to me, that like brought me back right away to the film and thinking
and the patio doors, like
when she's sitting there, she's knitting, and I think in the first one,
I don't know if she's knitting in the first one too. She is, right?
Yeah. And what we did was we inverted the sweater that Juno was wearing is a recolored version of the one from the movie.
Oh my God, that's great.
Just sort of knitting. There's lots of great echoes by design. And yeah, we watched, I rewatched the movie shot by shot to try to rebuild the house in my mind architecturally through the edits. And it's tricky because I think there's some cheats in it, of course. But we for real, use that as a blueprint.
Oh, that's great.
For echoing the movie. And then just went our own separate direction based on all the action, because there's a ton of it that had to happen in the house.
So the house is a build, but I was wondering, is the neighborhood a backlot or is that a real neighborhood?
It's a real neighborhood.
It is.
I mean, it was like truly a needle in a haystack enterprise to try and find this thing, but given what happens to the house, through the first 4 episodes, and knowing all the action and interrelationship to the exterior street and Halloween that mattered, I thought it was integral that this house, we could be rough and tumble with it, but that it coexists on a really dynamic street. So we drove around Calgary for weeks and weeks, myself and scouts, and one of the scouts found this vacant lot in a really great riverside, mature neighborhood in Calgary down by the water that had this great canopy of elms and poplar over top of the street, and like literally a vacant lot that was designated for development with, craftsman homes on either side and everything else integral and to a certain extent sort of lived in. So we managed to make a deal that we could build a house temporarily on a vacant lot, keeping all the giant trees around it, entirely enmeshed in this neighborhood, and took over the whole street for Halloween. And
oh my God, that's fantastic.
And then of course we matched that house in studio, all 3 stories, the basement, the main floor, and the second story, for all the the delicate work that had to happen in the studio. But we built a facsimile of the main floor and bits and bobs of the second story to do some of the in and outs for windows.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
So it was a huge sales job on my part.
Well, yeah.
to convince them that there's always this temptation to blow all the money and all your ideas in the first few episodes to hook the audience. But it's just the series this year was written, that Dot and Wayne's house mattered so much that there was, in my opinion, no way around it. As like, we have to have this interrelationship with this house to the street and vice versa.
Well, it's a character. It becomes a character because it becomes her sort of companion, or her, she's defending herself. She's defending her family in, I believe it was episode 4.
Yeah.
And, I would think reading that script and seeing, like, first of all, anytime there's a montage, I want to kill myself. Because I know that's a lot of shots that are going to be so quick, and it's going to be a lot of prep, and it's going to be a lot of props and us just going at it. But then to read, like, okay, she set up this trap. They walk through here, it's dark, or you're playing with the lighting of the house a lot. You're playing with the shadows. You're playing with the viewer's mind of where these people are going down this hallway, or they're looking up to the attic, things like that. And it's such an opportunity for set dressing and art department to shine, really, because we're just adapting what we have made into something else and making it part of the story, which I love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a monumental task, actually, sort of getting the flow of that house, right? Because it had to house 2 epic kidnapping scenes. Yeah. And then I'm not sure when this episode between us is going to air.
I was going to wait till after episode 4.
Great. So then I can say, and there's the element of fire.
Yeah.
Never mind all the violence that ensues. So I was like, holy smokes. We had so many stunt effects, vis effects components through these 2 really highly choreographed sequences at night that had relationships to the outdoors, meetings upon meetings to get it right. And as any designer knows, For me, anyways, the hardest part, you can design rooms and flow all you want, but the death knell of a house design is always the stairs.
Yeah.
And how you connect the stories together. And God forbid if somebody falls down them. So that's what we had as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, 2 or 3 times people fall down those stairs.
Yeah.
And it's stunts, it's special effects, it's with you have fire, it's special effects, like it's every wardrobe, things are getting on fire, curtains are on fire, they're dressing, like that episode was so collaborative to get that that whole 6-minute scene, I think it is, like that one segment together. It's like that was a lot. Like watching it, I just feel like, ooh, that was a lot of meetings. But it looks great. And
there's no denying it. I mean, we talked that thing to death and went through many iterations.
Yeah, because
from a creative standpoint, it took a long time actually to figure out.
Oh yeah.
Who Dot and Wayne were. As you know, storytelling is in the walls and the decor too. And it took a while in our special Fargo way to figure out who this wacky couple is and how to suggest Dot's duplicity and sort of absence of a personality while still making the home feel lived in and all the things that you expect. So
well, you have that fantastic wallpaper in her bathroom with the tiger in the jungle, which is a real because they keep referring to her as the tiger, and her last name is Lion. Like it's very visual. There's in the scenes in the bathroom of she was trying to peek out, or she was trying to there's something in her trying to tell people who she really is, but being so restrained. So I thought that was a fantastic little Easter egg.
Yeah, thank you. We had a lot of fun with that. Is creating not just in the house specific to Dot's, let's call it tigress or lioness quality, but many of the other characters sort of dressing in these Easter eggs of Animal Kingdom sort of iconography and other wallpapers, and trying to imagine this notion of hunt and hunted and prey and predator throughout the series, sometimes in the art, which is a little off kilter, and little Easter eggs and wallpapers. But yeah, that was a really fun one. And again, really early, the way that she reveals herself through the sliding panel door.
Yeah.
We want the bathroom to be the last room possible and create this sense of suspense through the jungle. So I think it was Noah's initial idea to not be shy about how jungly this bedroom might be and literally do a mural across the whole wall where the pocket door is at first glance sort of invisible, and then the waterfall slides back and then Dot comes out. So
well, it took me out of it a little bit, because then I was investigating what the mural was and what the wallpaper is, but it's also because I've watched more, and the relationship of the husband and wife is so awkward. It's do they really even know each other? But I feel like she was trying to get it out the whole time, or just wanting to be loved who she really is. So I love that. And your decorator is Amber Humphreys. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Fantastic job on the house. I mean, the intricate little details, even the bathroom is so well done too, so lived in. The girls' room, the kitchen, there's sometimes, even as a decorator, I think did they, now I know it's not true, but did they just roll up to a house and shoot it? That's how great it looked. And I also think the lighting helps it too. The very fantastic fixtures in the house too.
Always, yeah. I'm one of my sort of obsessions with when I collaborate with set deck, and I work a lot with Amber, is lighting. Yeah, I'm a big cinephile, and practicals are everything, especially with the fast chips and cinematography as it is now.
Yeah,
they expect so much, DPs do now, for our house and our spaces to do the work.
Yeah, it's us. It's us now.
Yeah, so, and we always run the risk sometimes of being a lamp store if you're not careful. But if there's so much fun we can have strategically playing with fixtures. And that was a really fun journey as well. But yeah, Fargo, as you know, kind of has this it's a delicate line we have to walk between realistic, that is naturalism, which is what we all strive for, and a sense of peculiarity. I think there were many times when Dana and Noah would actually take items out. So we'd sort of build a realistic room. And then the more we worked together, I got used to this idea that it's more about one or two signature items, and one of them usually feels a little wacky or disturbing or not quite right.
Right.
And like an element of pruning, if you will, to get to the essential pieces and make that do a lot of the work visually for us and sort of destabilize the scene and keep it in that sort of wacky, not quite right Fargo universe a little bit too.
Well, I would have to say, I think your wackiest thing is the gigantic painting in Mrs. Lyon's office that just says no.
Yeah.
Like that. Because
well, the interesting thing about, the word N and O with the lowercase O is that it also can suggest numbers. So it's got that double effect of somebody that's a billionaire and makes their living on the backs of people's debt, that it could also read as number.
Oh, yeah.
And like some sort of categorization of costs and balance sheets. So yeah, no, that was another bold choice.
Because it's red.
And
the rest of it's a stark white office with a gorgeous black mirrored desk. And the legs of that desk are fantastic. Like the whole room is, it's a build. Is that a build or is that a location?
It's a location with the full build inside of it. So we were on I think the 38th floor of a vacated oil and gas building downtown, and it was down to the cement and all the
wow, because it's got weird angles, which makes you uncomfortable, which I like.
I know, it's very dynamic. It's essentially a triangle, and what I really liked about it was it had really great window vistas on both sides, but it had this triangulated forced perspective towards Lorraine's desk, where it's almost like going in there, you're getting called to the principal's office, and it's got a punitive quality sitting in there where there's no getting away from Lorraine. So I really like that.
She's fantastic, and what a spectacular character to decorate and design for. And then I'm sure once we do so much, but then when the actor gets in there, that accent that she has and her inflection and everything is so awkward that it's such a fantastic character. Really,
it's super jarring, frankly.
Yeah,
it's
weird.
One of those, what was that sort of moments where, and I think we all sort of channel our Jennifer Jason Leigh memories too. So it's a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I could hear a little bit of Hudsucker Proxy in there, and I was like, "What the hell is going on here?" And I think that's maybe part of the
single white female.
Yeah, that's again part of the peculiarity of the show, and that it can allow these characters to be so rich and odd at the same time.
Did you know that she was gonna be like that from reading it?
No, I had no idea.
No,
I think
right?
day one, I had no idea what they'd sort of cooked up. And sometimes, as designers, especially for that first block, we're so busy just getting our own sets ready that you often lose the plot when it comes to, final looks for characters and some of the stuff they cook up once the actors land, and fittings with props and watches and jewelry and all those things. So sometimes I don't mind that, actually, because when an actress rolls onto set, I'm like, oh,
there you are.
That's not entirely what I had in mind, but this is really fun.
I get really bummed out about that. I get really like, I had Jennifer Jason's, headshot from, a red carpet look I've been looking at for months, and you're thinking about this character and you read it and everything. And I only say this because I worked on For All Mankind, and we had a screening of our first episode, and you do the Howl, you do this whole character, and then I watched dailies and everything, but then when I saw it all together, I was like, damn, I would have went this way just a little bit more if I had. Maybe they could just act for us a little first.
Of course.
And
nothing works better when there's a synergy between all the departments.
Yeah.
We know that. So, but I think that, Lorraine worked well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, her house was no small matter.
Oh my God.
This season was shot in Calgary. And we're a strange place, like as far as millionaires go. Like we don't have what I would call mansions in the sense of the word that I think that a lot of people imagine. So finding Lorraine's, estate was really tricky, actually, because Calgarians with money usually just have big, tasteless houses.
Like McMansions, like that.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
to get something that actually said something.
Yeah, she
was
had
really,
taste and style
yeah,
and like
really
old
hard.
money. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was really tricky. So it was down to the wire. We had some options that came and options that went. And, the scripts weren't entirely completed to the end of the season. So we had to sort of imagine what this house might need later.
Yeah.
So could only sort of focus on what was on the page. And there was the big Christmas tree, the guns and the opening postcard photography, and that sort of showcase scene and the dining scene. So I had to just sort of trust my instincts to find a house that felt like egregious money, but not a lot of thought went into it. Like when you've got money, you hire decorators.
Yeah.
They put things on the walls. You can't deal with it. And that's certainly Lorraine, I think. She's too busy sort of crushing souls in meetings to actually worry about decorating her home, and her husband's, a functioning alcoholic. And,
when he's,
the rest of it's the work of servants, so.
I guess there's like he travels with his own alcoholism, I should say. I mean, I don't want to give anything away, but like, it's so weird. So weird.
Yeah, exactly. Weird is the case. And there's a bit
weird.
of a Sunset Boulevard moment when she comes down the stairs. That's undeniable.
Yeah.
Presents herself. So it's sometimes you have to wait to find a location, and all it takes sometimes is a bit of a clue to inform the rest of the builds once you sort of get your hooks into a character. And as you know, it can take a lot longer than you want sometimes to figure out who a person is from a set standpoint. So when we found that house, we had a lot of restrictions about what we could do. We had all these ideas around color for Lorraine, but we had to really pivot because
they wouldn't let you do it.
We couldn't affect the change we wanted in the location for all sorts of reasons: scope, budget, time.
Yeah.
So I had to sort of rethink Lorraine and then reflect that in Redemption Services really quickly, so that her universe at a glance felt recognizable. So whenever we were with her, it was always austere and a bit white and a bit sucked of its blood, if you will. So the house, the mansion, had, lots of marble and sort of an off-white creamy wall for the most part. And a bit of a lifelessness, if you will.
Cold.
So I was like, okay, well, this is our baseline. And so then I transposed that into Redemption Services, and we went with this all white marble, austere office that is almost, like I said, sort of sucked of personality, sucked free of it. And to the extent that we didn't even really decorate the shelves very much. Like I almost imagine that when you're a billionaire, you don't even
Who cares?
You don't even need books. You don't even decorate. Like it's a laptop and a shiny black desk.
Yeah.
And I guess occasionally you have to have a meeting on a couch with somebody, but it was about nothingness as much as the content in the room.
I'm totally on that page. The show I'm on now, he's like a Elon Musk billionaire, and it's harder. It's like, well, what are we decorating with? He doesn't need that. He doesn't even need a working kitchen, really. He brings food. Like, it's a weird dynamic when you get to a level and want realism in there. People don't have that. And technology anymore, people don't really have a lot of shit anymore. Like,
it's true. No, a desk in the office sense of the word is pretty sparse these days.
Yeah.
If you might have an iPhone charger.
Yeah.
And an iPad.
Your iPad holder. Now I'm into iPad holders and charger holders and shit just to get some gack on the desk because there's.
I know. And it's hard as decorators and designers. Our instincts are nervousness. That we don't have enough. So we always worry that is it too thin? Have we made it realistic enough? And it's very, very hard, as you know, to embrace and trust a minimalist aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's really hard because you just want to fill that wall. You just want to put something on the shelf. You just want to texturize.
Yeah. And get just get character elements in there too. Like
and backstory. Yeah, you want to put
she had a mug from her dad, or she had things like that.
A trophy that suggests a previous life, or a fishing rod that alludes to dad or something,
Someone literally just asked me yesterday who was rewatching Veep, like, her desk, there was nothing on her desk. And I go, well, there's really not a lot on the Oval, on, the Resolute anyway, but it's a note of she really didn't do anything. That's why, you're trying to convey that. And sometimes it doesn't read and sometimes it does. It's always like when they want like, oh, he's fixing up his house, so let's get some paint cans and some ladders. And I'm like, it never works. It just looks like we left shit in the set. Like, please don't make me do that. Unless you say it in dialogue. Please don't do that to me.
You have to go so far
Yeah.
with those sorts of gags, especially we all roll our eyes with the holiday episodes in television where it's Christmas or Halloween or Easter, and there's not a designer or decorator alive that doesn't heavily roll their eyes when they see that on the page, because you know how far you have to go to have it visually read for an audience.
Yeah.
So there's this form of exaggeration and hyperbole. We're like, oh my God, I can't do a normal Halloween. I got to do like Halloween times 20.
Yes.
To even make it show up.
Yes.
In the 3 seconds of establishing you get. Never mind in the close-ups and all the coverage that's to follow.
Yeah, I mean, so, I feel the pain doing a block long. I've done blocks of holidays, of Halloween, of Christmas, and it's like, how many string lights do I have to get? You want more string lights? Like
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I hope Halloween worked in.
Oh, it
in
did.
This
oh, yeah.
show. And I think what worked most for me was the street itself. Again, back to the Lion House and the scudding it took to find it. For me, the trees were integral. It had a little bit of Home Alone in it, and a little bit of John Carpenter's Halloween in it too. And I can't deny that I thought about that a lot.
Yeah.
That street and how those mature trees and those rather banal, but slightly vintage homes created a Pleasantville kind of quality, and that's what I was after in this Scandia, Minnesota thing for the Lion House. We didn't know it, I don't think, until we really looked at all of the first 4 episodes together, how much of a horror movie we were kind of making too.
Yeah.
And just the amount of darkness, and those sets were uncomfortably dark for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like color
the
was
convenience store. The convenience store is completely dark. I mean, that's a big scene too, and when they're out,
a lot of darkness in those first 4 episodes. Not night, of course, but some really noiry spaces where things fall off into shadow, and the walls eat a lot of light.
Did you have 1 DP or 2? I forgot to look.
Alternating.
Alternating.
Yeah, we went back and forth with directors and DPs.
And that's always fun too, because one guy likes lights and one guy doesn't. And
oh my gosh.
But they're all great, but it's like, it's Walter's episode, or like it's Johnny's episode.
But I think, generally speaking, the block 1 heavies set the rules of the road for a show for the most part.
Yeah.
But let's not deny the fact that every director and DP to follow desperately wants to put their own sort of spin and voice into the conversation. So that's one of the many balancing acts of design is protecting the mothership of ideas and holding steady in the whole visual rule set, while also indulging and helping chase really fun ideas that new creatives have.
In episode 3, in Roy Tillman's house and his bedroom is like, what was that? Was like was that a deep purple or a deep red?
Yeah.
It was
like
so
a really
dark. I thought to myself, oh, I bet that was a discussion with the DP, like how dark he made it, which was great.
Yes. Yeah. And that bedroom came late in the shoot, but got moved up in the cut. Tillman's interior was an integral 2-story build because the stairs, again, mattered there for a singular shot.
Yeah.
And we had to, frankly, contain it as a 2-story build, which I like, actually. There's always the movie magic of splitting stories in a house, but I really like building the whole whopper and kind of making the crew go up the stairs.
Well, no, that's what I was going to say. You do, but the crew doesn't. But yeah, it looks great.
But basically, so we built just enough on the 2nd story to satisfy every script as we went. And as the season developed, of course, we built out everybody's bedrooms, the twins.
The twins' bedroom's fantastic. Their kitchen is fantastically decorated, I must say. I loved all those open shelves.
We had fun.
Yeah. And he's so good.
Roy's master bedroom was the last piece to fall, truthfully. And then, that was by design, almost like a little bit frozen in time. Like, it's his parents' house. So that like there's not even a redecoration. Like he switches wives, but doesn't even switch dressers or beds, right?
Well,
So
yeah,
something kind of gross about that.
yeah, I mean, there's a montage of the wall of pictures, and he still has pictures of his ex-wives up there. It's
That's right.
completely bizarre.
It's strange. It's like a doll collection or something. And that's just speaks to Roy Tillman that he's able to, hold
Yeah,
this idea that each of these wives
yeah.
were parts of his journey and his journey only. And he has no issues with it because it's Roy's way or the highway, truly.
I really do love too that the rooms aren't too big, which made it feel like, oh, this is a real house on location. Like that bedroom's not too big. The girls' room isn't big, and you've got, I believe you have the pivoted walls and like the slant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
fantastic
would argue
design.
Yeah, thank you. And I like that. And that's, as we know, as designers and decorators, an endless challenge to know how much exaggeration is allowable
Yeah.
to fit a camera, or if you're not welding walls. And that was one of the, for what it's worth, good constraints of this particular situation, because it is a 2-story house.
Yeah.
We didn't have a wealth of room to spread out and cantilever over our main floor. So I was sort of constrained, if you will, to respect the footprint of the main floor and literally build a house almost to scale from the one on location. So those bedrooms are small out of necessity, but I think it works because you don't lose sight of the fact that this house was built in the 20s.
Yeah.
And farmhouses are modest in scope, and people had, one pair of pants and 2 shirts, and closets were shared, and you had one dresser if you were lucky between you. So,
and then the connection with the hot tub and the barn, that comes into play and everything. But that hot tub is like, oh, cowboy hot tub. Like,
what a scene, though, right? I really love
that scene. Is fantastic.
I know.
He's such a prick. It's so great. He's so great in it.
Yeah. I mean, that scene for me, not only, of course, is a wonderful beat for John Hamm to really, deliciously have fun with his character, but also, I think, absorb and almost have some swagger around his property, too.
Yeah.
So it's a showcase of the location that we chose.
It's beautiful.
It's got breadth. It's got that sort of flatness, that North Dakotan kind of coulee. We've got some cattle in the background. The barn is a character unto itself. That thing was going to fall over any day.
Oh my God.
We didn't dare touch it. It was literally off limits. And whenever you walked on the east side of it, you kind of hurried because you never knew. It was like, fuck, this could be the day this thing blows over. And if I hear the creaking of a barn coming over, can I get out of its shadow in time? So we actually, out of fear of that, knowing how long the season was, we adored the barn, couldn't dare touch it, but LiDAR scanned it just in case it actually blew over that year.
Oh, wow.
So we scanned the whole thing in case, God forbid, we had to visually put it in for the remainder of the season.
That's nuts. Well, it's so symbolic how the hot tub is like his throne, like looking over his land, and it's a really great scene. And I also noticed there was no hand railings, which I think was for that so that they could see his full entirety when he gets out of the hot tub. But also, it's just like, I built this. This is for me. I don't need handrails. It's such a decision of a character that I appreciated too in the design. It's minimal, but I appreciated it.
Yeah, almost like a stage. There was a showiness to it where Roy Tillman, I'm surprised he even put a towel on. He seems like
what was his own towel?
Truly. It's his own campaign towel.
Yeah.
But, I can imagine there are other days when he just puts his clothes on and walks back to the house in his birthday suit.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure.
I think it was, again, an opportunity to suggest the scale of his ego, that the FBI have arrived, fine. He's smoking a cigar. He's not going to change one bit for these people, and sort of gloriously put it all out there, literally and figuratively, that they're on his property. He considers that a violation from the get-go, and it's simply not going to listen. I mean, their rules don't apply.
Also in episode 3, you go to Wales. I'm Welsh, so I was like, ooh, look at this. So you go to Wales in 1522
Mm-hmm.
I think
he's really topping the odd characters in the Fargo universe. He's getting
Yeah.
up. That guy's old mayor. I don't remember.
Ola Munch.
Olem Munch. Whoa, what a nut job. What a
Yeah.
fantastic character, but
Yeah, timeless, right? I mean, this sort of demon that walks the earth.
I really didn't know where it was going when it was started this back. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is his family, and then I'm like, wait, what are they doing? What is he eating? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know what he was eating. I think it was just food
Yeah.
that they pretended
It
was
was
his
food.
soul, or
Yeah, it was like this process of sin eating, which was really a thing where this affluent family, Welsh family, sort of paid this poor peasant to eat this meal off this corpse, and through so sort of devour and take the sins and sort of clean this body for its next part of the journey. And so this character, right off the hop, you have this debt was a big theme this season. This dichotomy between those that have and those that have not, and this person that literally could use a couple of coins to survive does this horrible thing that ultimately turns out to be a curse. So it's a sin eating scene. Sometimes they have coins on their eyes, and
Right.
So we built this, Welsh house, which was new for me, and really really fun on set, and then built a version of it with some set extension requirements out on a property that had some beautiful rolling hills that we thought
oh, it's
felt
the hills
like
and
Wales.
the landscaping was perfect. I was like, oh, they're in Canada, so maybe they found something.
No, are you kidding? There's not a thing around me that's more than 120 years old, so
I'm really
this
dumb.
is not the place for those kinds of homes.
I'm
Like,
really dumb. No.
no, it's funny, and we all laughed about it.
Yeah.
Like, of course, producers can't help themselves. They want you to scout first. And I was
Yeah.
like, we are not scouting for this. I'm telling you, it's a build. It's a line item. Here's what it's
fantastic.
going to cost. Yeah.
I'm not getting in that van for another day and looking for this.
No, truly, we're not going to look at some brick building downtown Calgary and rationalize that as this house.
And then he moves into this old lady's house, which is perfectly decorated again, of like an elderly person living by themselves and just going out for beer and coming in and getting
Love
drunk,
that house.
watching,
Yeah.
daytime TV. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
What I couldn't figure out is, does he know that woman or no? He doesn't know that. No.
It was
He
entirely
was just calling her
random. I
mama
think-
for no reason.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
whether he cased the place first or just chose that house because it was on the corner and it looked convenient and made himself at home.
Yeah, taking a
And
bath.
really, really eerie. And another almost horror type house for this season, Irma's place. And we the main floor was on location and all the exterior work. And then we reproduced the second story again for a whole wealth of shot making needs in studio. So
Oh God. What is it? The gate. Oh, so Gator, the son, Tillman's son, his bedroom has got to be like a perfect rendition of a douchebag. like
the douchiest. We had so
20th
much fun.
something douchebag. Even the music that's playing.
I know. I had so much fun doing that bedroom. And it was a late addition. And I think Noah, as seasons go, these things happen. Sometimes it's this huge curve of stories and secondary stories, and you sort of get a feel for a character that might be missing something. So I have this feeling that in the edits later in the season, they needed to humanize Gator a bit more. So his bedroom was an add-on. Again, we built it on the second story of the Tillman house in studio. But man, I had so much fun doing that. Like that sort of douchey, heavy metal,
Yeah.
ninja, knife throwing, taxidermied, hot chick posters on the wall
Yeah.
kind of a thing. Like suspended adolescence. So Joe Keery is almost forever 16.
Yeah.
And just failure to launch, right? So that room is really that. And I know Joe really liked it, and Noah really loved it when we first shot there. And I think they even ad-libbed a couple of scenes that made the cut, because why not?
Oh,
You had
yeah.
an extra half hour of time on set and Gator there and this great room to just fart around in. So we had a lot of fun with it.
And again, it's dark.
Yeah.
it's dark in there, and it's really just the sunlight coming in, I believe. Because
Yep, you're correct.
I paused it to look around because I was like, oh, look at this guy. Look at this
Yeah, I think
poster.
there's a blue light too, I think, on the wall over the bed.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think maybe an aquarium. We thought, of course, this guy's got
It's
a
got a
reptile. So
reptile,
I
yeah.
think it's
He's
I
killed
mean,
animals.
yeah, but who doesn't have like a snake if you're that guy? So he's probably got like some, small constrictor in the corner of his bedroom too.
He's fantastic. John Hamm's fantastic. Their dynamic together as father and son, I think, is fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone's so well played in this. It's just
Yeah. And I think Joe really got it. I think he actually understood what show he was in and rode that Fargo line between comedy and pathos and an element of caricature without exaggeration. So it's a tricky walk, I bet, for an actor in this show.
A lot of you have now I'm trying to think if this is number 5 or not, the hospital, or if that's 4. I think it's 5.
Which one? There's a few.
When well, yeah, I guess it is later when
That's later, 5 and 6,
yeah.
I think.
The diner in episode 2,
Mhm.
the paintings and like the wallpaper. Is it wallpaper or are they paintings?
We hand painted those
Wow.
vignettes.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it was really important. Yeah, thank you. It was really important to me. Yeah, I think it might have been day 1 of photography. I forget now.
Oh,
But
wow.
obviously you want to start on a high note.
Yeah.
With a new crew and a showrunner, and I love this stuff. Like, this is my wheelhouse, like Western cowboy kitsch, that sort of Wyoming, Texas,
It's
Dakotan
perfect.
vibe. Yeah, so we found this place I've always wanted to shoot at. Totally redid the interior, and I just love that scene. It's so classically Western, and yeah, we hand painted everything on the walls. I thought it was really important that you often see in my research, like in a lot of these sort of, let's call them cowboy diners,
Yeah.
is often some wacky mural, like some small town quote unquote artist painted the shittiest stagecoach thing on the wall, and it's never of quality. Just like in a small town, like
Right.
the thing on the side of the garage is generally
Yeah.
terrible, but
Yeah.
it's a thing of pride for the community. And so I wanted a bit of that, like these sort of slightly disproportionate, poorly perspected cowboy imaginings, buffalo hunts on the wall, lassoing. And again, I think it's a really quick way to have fun with Roy Tillman's County.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It
And
definitely
who he
immerses
is.
you.
Yeah.
Immerses you quickly into like this is his world. We're not over at the car dealership or like their house. Like we're in a different part of the state where this guy rules, and
Yeah.
this is their vernacular of like the hierarchy over here, and guns and cowboys and
Yeah,
the
and
sheriff.
branding irons on the walls and
Yeah.
taxidermy and,
Yeah.
and
No, it was-
schoolhouse lights and all that stuff.
I love a good diner. A good diner scene is
We all
always
do.
great.
I mean, I love diners. We all love diners, motels.
Yeah.
There are certain little standalone sets that I think as designers and decorators, we just never get tired of.
No.
And those are ones for me. I could do motel rooms and diners for
There's
the rest
such
of my career.
opportunity to throw in character in these spaces, and with little pieces just like like the mural or
True.
the
Yeah, you can say
bedspread.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is kind of, I don't know, it's just like a cinematic trope.
Yeah.
Some of these places, it's where you meet to do certain kinds of things. And I think we love diners. You think of all those great scenes,
Yeah.
like Pulp Fiction or like
Diner.
5 Easy Pizzas, like just amazing scenes. Yeah.
Did you have a lot of prep for the show?
I think it was healthy by
Yeah.
show standards.
Yeah.
They involved me early, which I give them a lot of credit for the scouting, like
Mhm.
really working hard to define Minnesota and define North Dakota and create a topographic plan for
Yeah.
the season.
Oh, that's
Because
great.
there's costs associated with this, of course. You have to travel out of the zone to get some of these looks.
Yeah.
So we had to really build the universe early to know the kind of sandbox that we'd be playing in. And so yeah, it's all a blur to me how many weeks I actually had, but it was
good.
healthy. I think it was a reasonable amount of prep. And we got to scout in the summer, which is always nice around here. You can do it in a t-shirt. And that's an Alberta joke, because usually we're standing here in January, 3 feet of snow, trying to sell somebody on how pretty the meadows are going to be in June.
Did you block shoot? Was it like, because I know that I was trying to look at the directors, because usually I can tell by that, like, oh, they directed 3 and 4, they cross-boarded those 2, and
yeah, we shot in blocks.
you shot
so
in blocks.
5 blocks.
Which,
And then, but again, in the edit, as I look back on the 10 episodes, there's always some
the
play
crossover.
in terms of scenes jumping way forward or way back
Yeah.
in the overall arc of the season. And that's always the case.
Well,
But,
sometimes I think, well, thank God, because we wouldn't have had that ready in time. Sometimes you're like, oh,
for
thank
sure. It
God.
can create dynamism. Yeah, it can create dynamism where you didn't expect it. Like,
Yeah.
certain things come forward and inject a different kind of look that wasn't necessarily on the page.
Did you have any other locations like out, like in the States, or did they travel? It was just in Alberta.
Yeah, just in Alberta. If I'm not mistaken, I think, at the risk of plot spoiling, there's
Well, then don't.
yeah, there's something later in the season
There's
that I
something
think
later.
Establisher was gathered in America.
Mhm.
But other than that, the entire show was built in Alberta.
That's fantastic.
Mhm.
Did you, when you left after season 1, did you think, damn, I hope I get to go back? Like, were you
Yeah.
always like, oh, Fargo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Emphatically. It was a big part of, let's say, sort of my interview process with Noah and Warren and Steve and Caitlin and all the people that were early in, Kim, Todd, that I felt like there was sort of unfinished business for myself.
Mm.
I art directed this thing that I don't think anybody expected to necessarily go past their first season. And then it was sort of ships passing in the night for season 2 with Warren Young.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're out of step. You can be out of step for a show for
Yeah.
a decade.
Yeah. You get
And
out.
full credit to Warren and Elizabeth. They both did amazing things with the series. But I always hoped that I would have a chance to sort of close the loop with this particular show.
Yeah.
And once I won the position and saw those first couple of scripts, I just couldn't believe my eyes
Yeah.
that we were almost coming back to the Coen Brothers movie and swinging full circle back to that first season. So there's all sorts of, for me personally, really rewarding closings of circles that really was personally satisfying.
Oh, that's great. Because there is a thing of like, oh, I wish I could have stayed on that, but a lot of times you have to move on, or opportunities come up. You have to take, like, we're in a business where you gotta move. You gotta move around, or sorry, I have to leave for this, or But coming back, I would think would be so special. Like I've never gone back to a show, but I can imagine, like, going back to that would be so special because Fargo, I guess, is a little different because it's not the same characters, but the development of those characters over time. That's why I like staying with series over seasons, because of the development of the characters and everything. And it's not completely boring. Like their house isn't exactly the same as we first met it, things like that. So I can imagine coming back for this and being like, wow, I got a taste of this and now I get to like really do it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And what I like about Fargo is that it really doesn't have seasons as much as years or installments.
Yeah.
So each one is distinct, both in period and overall location flavor.
Well, it's a film. It's a film.
Characters are all new.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a super movie.
Yeah, you have a 10-hour film.
Yeah. And so especially the more they do this, I think Noah and Dana Gonzalez, producer and DP, are flexing their muscles more and more within the confines of what we used to think Fargo was.
Yeah.
So every season is more and more distinct. If you look at the 4th installment, it's a sizable departure from Fargo as we knew it.
Yeah.
And I think this one, yes, it comes back to a more familiar world, but I think their restlessness visually around continuing to not be constrained by maybe old rules that Roger Deakins or the Coens set up in 1996, are constraining any of us from moving forward in telling this story as it needs to be told now.
Did you have a favorite set? Like,
Good question. I should have had an answer prepared for this. I think,
did you have a set that you hated? We all that usually comes easier to me.
Yeah. I mean, no, I neither. I think if I'm being honest with myself, I think the Tillman Ranch really checks that frontier Western box for me. I really am built that way. I love the Western as a genre. We do a lot of it here in Calgary, Alberta. And I just love when you find topographically a big spread that checks a lot of boxes. Yeah. And it took a long time to find that property and argue for its merits and value. But once we did, I think it lends itself to so many of the big action sequences and says so much so easily. Yes. And allows the weather to be an element. And I have a soft spot for that one.
That's fantastic.
I think, if I'm being honest with myself.
Yeah, it's fantastic because not only did you find a great location, but then the build of it and the interior that you designed is fantastic and clever and character driven. It's great.
Yeah, and it grows. So if a set plays through an entire season, your relationship to the set grows with it and the people that live there. So you develop these relationships with the homeowners. You know where every little board and windmill and rusty barrel is on the entire section of land, and you develop this sort of special relationship with locations like that because you're not just there, you're building a relationship for sometimes 10 months. And I find that connection really rewarding for us and the set tech folk.
It's weird. It's always weird when we go in and we take everybody's stuff out and then we put our own stuff in. And
or go in their house and measure everything and change their window treatments and then blow up their house on the exterior, repaint everything.
Oh, I wanted to ask you though about the their house with the fire. Mm-hmm. Was that on this? Did you do the fire at the location, or is that separate and then they like CGI'd it in or something? Was that on the street? You both, yeah.
Both, and that's why I insisted early on that the Lion House be a practical build on location, like that we own it, that we can be rough with it and manipulative and achieve whatever fire effects we might need, even if it's pieces to extend virtually, that we have the ability to do practical heavyweight things on location to get all that integrity in frame. But we did both. Then in studio, there was all sorts of fireproofing and safety measures and controlled shots with VisFX support. So there was a hot mix of everything.
I was afraid the trees were going to catch on fire. I was like, this whole thing's
going
up.
I mean, that canopy of trees, we built around those trees. Like, we didn't nick a single branch. And the guys, my carpenters, sort of tiptoed around the existing greens on the location. And it was a concern that the fire
I'm sure
had to be managed carefully because we didn't want to burn literally the location. But the fire department was totally on board. And if I had my druthers, I would have burned a bit more practically. But,
it looked
these
great.
things have costs. And I think it all came together in the end.
There's something so sad watching someone's home burn. It's so, like, I don't know, because it's so personal. And I think as decorators, designers, it's so personal. Like, that's your home. That's your space. That's like, so it's a really great scene.
Yeah. Although I find it kind of rewarding. I've had so many fires in my career. I kind of liken our sets to sandcastles, and sometimes there's something as a designer kind of special about building a particular sandcastle and wiping it clean after. It's like a moment in time. And
like watching the sets come down.
Yeah, or often around here they actually stay, which is kind of lame. If I'm being honest, like where a lot of us local designers work on each other's sets, and all shows all shows don't have all the money in the world, so you wind up revisiting a lot of places and trying to put your own stamp and bend on it, and that can be a bit underwhelming at times, if I'm being honest. So there's something really fun about this is us. We're going to be here for 10 months. And we're either going to burn it or take it away at the end. It's very magical.
That I agree with that that state of mind, because I always love to talk about the lighting and how many DPs they have, because you have alternating DPs on a show, but you have to keep that style, and I rarely can you tell if the DPs are, oh, I know whose episode it is, it's the bright guy or whatever, because they're all, in the same tones, and you kind of keep together. But there are some interesting choices usually from DPs. So I always like to ask designers and decorators their connection and their interaction with the DPs. Obviously, the designers have a in-depth conversations of how the tone of all of this is going to be. But there were a lot of dark scenes that, when you're designing or decorating, and I will be completely honest, a lot of times I decorate and I never see the lights on till right before it shoots or something, and it's so aggravating. But when you have to decorate and design and it's going to be dark, then it's really important to see the set lit, how it's going to be, so you can fill in gaps that might be there, that normally with the lights on would be fine. So it's such a reverse cycle. But I really enjoyed talking to him about that, and learning everything about this season of Fargo. Again, I think it's fantastic. Loving it. Loving all of the characters, and can't wait to see what happens. So next week I have production designer Arthur Max and set decorator Ellie Graff of Napoleon. So yeah, it was an awesome experience to speak with them. So I hope you will check that out. And I hope you're checking out all these Oscar films too. Napoleon, Wonka, Flower Moon, I think Oppenheimer. I really think it's between Barbie and Napoleon. I think those are my front runners. Especially because in doing this production design film study and looking back and seeing a lot of period films win, and you get it, it's a lot of work. But when you look at design-wise of what was the influence or what, type of things last, I think Barbie's got a real shot. So, so far, I think those are my front runners. We'll see. But I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim on up for Decorating Pages.
Welcome to Pro Tips for the Pros, brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads. In this series, we'll explore essential advice for professional contractors to deliver outstanding renovation results. Let's dive in. Prioritize quality craftsmanship and materials to deliver results that exceed the customer's expectations. Attention to detail and superior workmanship will leave a lasting impression and ensure customer satisfaction. Thank you for joining us for this pro tip on planning thorough renovations. Stay tuned for more expert advice brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads.
A lot of people tolerate ordinary. Ordinary bathrooms, kitchens, entryways. Well, not on your watch. If you're a pro, you've got a new partner in town. Floor & Decor. From tile to wood to stone, Floor & Decor has more styles and job lot quantities of Schluter, Mapei, Laticrete, and other brands pros trust. Come see a whole new way to wow with Floor & Decor. Coming soon to Bailey's Crossroads.